Welcome back to the Chantre Show. We're talking about my daughter's paintings behind me, and um, I tried to. I had a mom that was very validating of us as kids. My mom's a therapist, counselor, and she was always very validating of what we tried and what we did. And she still saves
Mhm.
everything from the grandkids. If someone paints something, she saves it and she frames it and puts it up. And I mean, I have the first painting that I ever painted over there. My mom framed it and we still have it. It's horrible. I'm not a great painter, but when I was able to show it to
That's
my
so
daughter and go,
cool.
it's cool though, right? I was able to show my daughter, this is my first painting. And she was like, that's so
Yeah.
cool. And I saved her first painting. And then I save all of the ones that she did after that that are, of a nicer quality, I should say. But it's such a validating thing to do that for kids, and that's part of, again, this podcast, all the podcasts I do. There's a ton of great podcasters out there, but I kind of realized why I do my podcast is a tiny bit different. And it not that it's better or worse, but my podcast is also I can get more information to be a better dad. Like, I really want to get information from people so I can share it, because there's so many things I don't
Uh-huh.
know. My daughter's asking me, Dad, why does this happen? And I'm like, I don't know, but I can talk to someone who does,
Don't know.
and we can find that out.
And find
That's the
out.
cool, right? Well,
Yeah.
I got an awesome guest,
Yeah.
and
And it's just so
who
good to
are
be
you?
curious as well.
Yeah, tell my guest who you are and kind of what you do.
Sure. So my name is Carolina. I'm originally from Brazil, but I lived in the UK for over 25 years. So I've lived here longer than I lived in my home country. And I started working as a nutritionist. So I studied holistic nutrition, naturopathic nutrition. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's
definitely.
basically just we are the holistic side of nutrition and medicine, and we see the person as a whole, and everything is connected in us. And we, as opposed to Western medicine, we try to find root causes instead of just treating symptoms.
Yeah.
So through lifestyle, through you know our environment, what we eat, and what we see, our habits, and everything like that. And then after 2020, pandemic came, I realized the amount of sleep people are missing, and I've always been very interested in the brain and neuroscience and how the brain works and sleep itself. I helped a few friends, and they're like, "You should be working with this. Like, you're so passionate, you know so much." And I'm like, "Yeah." So then I just took a deeper interest in sleep, and then decided to study further and started working with with mainly adults, helping people sleep better through using ancestral knowledge. I believe in evolutionary psychology, evolutionary biology, nature, natural rhythm, circadian health, and all of those things, and just like to integrate everything related to nature and everything that we can do to change and to improve our health.
I love that.
And just been doing that. And now before doing that, I worked as a nanny for over 15 years.
Oh, wow.
So I have a lot of experience with children and families. And I've just finished doing like a baby sleep course. And then like just starting to go into helping families as well. Because
That's
I
awesome.
think um, sleep affects everyone. So if you one
It
person in the family has sleep issues, like it affects everyone. So I like to take everyone in, and usually when you see sleep coaches, usually it's for the adults and some for the just for the babies. But I think like we forget that is a synergy, the family, right? It needs to
yeah.
work. Everybody kind of work together. So like to kind of go that way now.
That's awesome because it's something that we take for granted, sleep and the ability to get sleep. That, so many people are
Yeah,
like, I'm tired. I'm just gonna go to sleep. And you go to sleep and you get into high school. As a child, a lot of people sleep well, and then they get into, maybe not everyone, but you get into high school, and then you start pushing those boundaries with, I'm tired, but I have my friend. Well, I've got video games. I've
yeah,
got this. I've got that. College, it gets worse, and then,
yeah.
and later on, then people get to this point where, I remember once I was dealing with such bad insomnia, and I had no idea why, and I just couldn't sleep. I'd just stare at the TV, and I'd just be staring at things. And I studied Chinese medicine, and I went to my acupuncturist, and they were like, "Well, we need to calm you down. You are just overstimulated." And I was doing some acupuncture and sleeping
Yeah.
like a baby, and it was just wonderful to be able to get that sleep. And it was interesting when we had my daughter, my sleep patterns changed once again because I live in a tropical climate
Yeah.
where the siesta time is, in the afternoon and taking a nap. And when I had my daughter, major sleep deprivation going on, and I finally got into this habit of
Yes.
I sleep when she sleeps. So if she was going down for a nap, I'm
Mhm.
like, it is my nap time right now. And I just, if I don't
Yes.
have a
At least
nap now,
that's a great thing.
right? If I don't have a nap now, I just can't function, And it's like sleep.
Yeah,
I
most
started to,
parents should be doing that actually.
right? You don't
If
realize
they
it that you
if they
should
have
be,
the chance, yeah. Yeah.
right? Talk to
Yeah,
me.
you
Talk
should
to
be
me.
because yeah, yeah, so basically, it's funny how you were talking about the teenagers and how and it's true because our sleep changes throughout our lives, like it changes the way our biology and our sleep goes. So when we're babies, usually like wake up really early, go to sleep really late, really early as well. We're mainly morning people. And then as teenage years starts kicking in, we actually become night owls. Like it's very biologically, it's very hard for teenagers to go to sleep really early and to wake up really early as well. They
Yeah.
just physiologically and biologically they can't. It's just it shifts. And then mid 20s is when like we find a sweet spot. And we have a genetic predisposition of being a morning person or evening person that settles around 20s. And then when we get to 50s, 60s, then this pattern changes again, and then you become you also your sleep get a lot more fragmented. You stop producing like melatonin and other different hormones. Everything is changing in your body, so it affects the sleep as well. Aging, in general. So it's
Yeah.
just so it's like phase. There's all these phases, so it makes sense. And then for parents, like you're saying, most parents they try to take that time the baby is sleeping to do,
Yeah.
but they're already sleep deprived as it is. You
Mhm.
can't, it's impossible. You will be, you have a baby, you will be sleep deprived, at least for the first 5 months, 6 months. It's impossible not to be. And the way to manage is sleep if you can when your baby sleeps. I know
Yeah.
that a lot of people have to work and they don't have that possibility, but the people who can, they should, because that's so helpful.
Yeah.
It's really helpful.
When my wife had our daughter, um, she's a singer, and I was the stay-at-home dad, because I was able to do my work from home, and it was very challenging, because I was like, "I want to get stuff done now. My daughter's asleep. I want to get stuff done." But at the same time, I was just like my body's like, "Nope. You're
Yeah.
done for this time period. You need to shut down or we are gonna have problems later." And it's interesting because when I started getting some sleep problems, and someone asked me, like, and I was thinking about this, like, well, what do you need to do to get a good night's sleep? What are the things that are important for sleep? And from my studies in Chinese medicine, like they're very big on sleep and the importance of sleep because, there
Yeah.
are if you stay up past 2 a.m., that is the time period of the liver and the blood is supposed to anchor. There's all these things like in the tradition that's
Yeah.
like talking like your soul can't settle. And if you don't get that settling
The Chinese
happening,
the Chinese body clock is very
yep,
interesting. Because I've said naturopathic, we also study traditional Chinese medicine is
yep,
incorporating all of that, and it makes sense. It's like how your body is working. It doesn't stop, and it
yep,
has the like. So basically, we have our main body clock, which is in your brain, which is controlled by light, and every single organ in our bodies, we have a clock as well, which is controlled by the time that you eat.
yeah.
So all this is your circadian health and everything. All these clocks they kind of need to be somewhat in sync, and with
Mhm.
with the way our modern lives are, it's very easy to get that out of sync,
Yeah,
and especially like with the amount of artificial lights that we have now. Even 50 years ago wasn't as much,
no.
as it is now, and it's crazy. And everything like our routines, like school times are terrible for kids, especially
Right?
teenagers are terrible for kids, are
Yeah,
terrible. They can't do it, they can't go to sleep and wake up so early. They
Yeah.
should be starting school like 10, 11 a.m. Like they should,
100% agree. 100% agree. And
and
I
they
worked as a
can't
children's
function.
teacher. Yeah, I worked as a children's teacher, and I am 100% in agreement. When I teach an 8 AM class, kids are rolling in, and that 8 AM is not as bad as some of the kids are showing up at 7:30 and starting class
Yeah,
7. And when I was
yeah,
teaching kids, I would see the kids show up at 8, and they were just dragging and, like, absolutely dragging, and it wasn't until around 10 that their eyes were suddenly on, the activities were like, "I'm here now. I'm ready," and like, "Well, class is done." It's an 8 to 10 AM class, and it's just not fair because we
yeah,
we we send kids to school when parents work, and so they start school before the parents go to work. That's why they gotta be there so early, and I know it's convenient for the parents,
yeah.
but at the same time, it's not good for education, you
But
know?
even for the parents, it and even for the parents, some people, like I said, we all different. Most of us, we fall into the chronotype, which is a genetic predisposition of your morning or evening. That's why we have the 9 to 5. It's because
Yeah,
50% of the population falls into that chronotype, right? That can function usually with the times of the sun. You usually wake up at 7 a.m., go to bed 11 p.m., and kind of function like that. But there are 15% of the population who are morning larks that, wake up really early, and then another 15% of the population who are night owls that can't function that early, and they have to kind of sacrifice their sleep for work as well. Parents, that have night owls, they also have to sacrifice, and is
yep,
very is and they can't function as well. And ideally, we would have workplaces and schools that people could kind of do that their own timing,
that
so we could
right?
align ourselves with our circadian rhythm. That would make everybody healthier
It
because you're
would.
like in line, like we have this phenomena called the social jet lag. People
Yeah,
constantly feeling like they were jet lagged because of
right?
routines and timings and
100%. And you're speaking to the choir right now because I think that I love the whole flexi time jobs. Like, you know what? You work best from 4 PM, like, 11 AM to 9 PM, then let that be your work schedule, like, adapt to so that things can work
yeah,
with you. Because I see, like, right now, I am counting down the days till my daughter's summertime because every single day waking up at 6 AM wears on me so badly. I am not a morning person, and that 6 AM every single day, summertime rolls around, and I'm just like, "Thank goodness," because 'cause I'm just, like, waking up at 8, and I'm like, "This is good. This is good," I feel
yeah,
healthier, I feel brighter, I feel more vibrant. But, the flip
yeah,
side is, that artificial rhythm. And I get society has to function, companies want, uniformity, schools as well. But what can people
yeah,
do to get better sleep? What's something that, my daughter comes to me, "Daddy, how can I sleep better?" What are some of the things that I should be telling
yeah.
someone?
So I think first thing is get outside as much as you can. Bright light, daylight as much as you can. Within the first half an hour that you're awake, if you can go outside, and even if it's just for 15 minutes and look outside, get sunlight. If you don't have sun, just even daylight is bright enough. This is the first signal that your brain needs to start your circadian rhythm, start your metabolism, start everything working for you. And start your day. And this sets up for a very, very successful night if you kind of in the evening stop the lights.
Mm,
So what you want, as you want to be awake, you want bright lights, especially natural light. And in the evening, you want as little light as possible. Ideally, candle lights is what you want in your house 2, 3 hours before you sleep, because melatonin is activated by darkness. So you
mm,
want your melatonin to be produced naturally. To produce naturally, you have to see bright light in the morning and you have to restrict light in the evening. This is the best natural way of boost your melatonin production, make you like really in sync with your circadian rhythm. Like if you go out first thing in the morning before you see your screens, just go out. Even if open the window, put your eyes out there,
yeah,
see the bright light, and then midday if you can go out as well. And then evening, you do another stroll, go out, just see the days like as the day go if like you follow the rhythm of the day, if you can be outside as much as you can, this is really helpful. Besides the circadian rhythm, it's really good. And another thing is just wind down before sleep. Like
Mm,
don't like prepare your body, to go to sleep because we get too wired. And it's not just about the light of the phone, it's also the content. It gets your brain wired. You're seeing like so much stuff going on all the time. All
yeah,
the flashing of the screens and everything, all of that makes your brain really wired. And you want the opposite. You want your brain to be calm. You want to kind of slow down and prepare your body. Because if you give the opportunity, your body knows what to do. You go to
yeah.
sleep, it's natural for us. It just happens. So you're just giving the right conditions, I guess.
Right, right. I remember, there was a time that I went to Las Vegas. Vegas is wild because they keep the lights they close out all outside light
It's
because
24/7. That's
24/7, they
crazy.
want people to not know what time it is so that they can keep playing and they can stay on those machines as long as possible.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I remember is, like,
Yeah.
leaving the room, and we were just like, "Whoa, sunshine." You're just blown away by the sunshine. You're like, "Hang on, what time is it?" And you don't know because the rooms are kept so dark, and it's just this artificial thing. And one of the things that I traveled recently to Maui, and it was really easy. We didn't have any jet lag. And one of the interesting things was this.
Mhm.
First of all, the flight was timed perfectly. So we got time to sleep. There were time to wake. We went back to sleep. And then when we woke up, it was in the morning in Hawaii. But we woke up and it's Hawaii. It's sunny. It's bright. And there's a lot of sun and the place we were staying was just wide open, lots of sunshine. And it was just like, it was really easy to stay up until the sunset. And
Yeah.
then we were like, all right, now it's time for bed. And we went to bed. But when the last time I flew back to California, it was the wintertime. And the wintertime in California is gray. It's all of these gray days, the gray sky and all this. It's rainy and
Like London.
overcast, like London. And when we flew there, I had the worst jet lag for an entire week because all those gray
Wow.
days and there was no sunshine. And I just felt like so beat down and worn down. And like I was waking up at all these weird hours because my body's like, I don't know what time of day it is right now. It's time that is at home. And it's interesting
Yeah.
because and people really need that sunshine to regulate their sleep and they just don't realize it.
Yeah, 100%. Not just that, like you're probably also in when you go to Hawaii, like you're in the on the beach, you're barefoot, grounding. Grounding is so good for resetting your improving jet lag. As soon as you arrive at your destination, if you have sun and all that, and even if it's dark, but if you stay outside as much to get that light. And if you can, that's the problem with the winter because it's cold. You don't want to be barefoot. Like it's cold, like it's hard
Yeah.
to do that. But in the summer, it's quite easy. So it's just it's so useful doing that. And it's just simple things that you don't have to spend a lot of money, or it's just simple things that you have to do to improve your sleep, like unless you have a sleep condition, obviously, like a sleep apnea, or if you have restless leg syndrome or narcolepsy or something that you need actually real treatment. But
Yeah.
if you're most people, as long as that I have worked with, at least, they're all lifestyle related things that we do without realizing, because we start accumulating these things that we do, right? And then when you see everything is kind of messy and you don't even know how you got to where you are, and then you
Right?
can't sleep, and then you're just like, what happened?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just little things that we do that another thing that is really helpful, I think, for everyone is just keeping a consistent bedtime and wake time,
Yeah.
especially wake time, because this the brain really loves the regularity. And
Yeah.
when your brain knows how much sleep is going to get, you use that time more efficiently, and it just really improves the quality of sleep. I
I
think
love that.
this is one of the best things to improve the quality. Yeah.
When someone comes to you and they're saying, I'm having trouble sleeping, what are some of the things that you look at? What are some of the questions you ask or things you start considering to help them get better sleep?
Yeah. So first thing is lifestyle. Are you moving during the day? Like what
Mm,
time do you go to sleep? What time do you wake up? Do you wake up and go to sleep every day at a different time? How
mm,
is your routine? What do you do during the day? Like how much caffeine are you taking? How
mhm,
um what have you been doing that you think is it could be related to stress? Like what is going on in your life? Because
yeah,
we all go through phases, and sometimes we go through phases that are very stressful that we can't help, and it's
yeah,
normal to have bad sleep. I have
right,
bad sleep, and I am an expert. It's normal. Like we go through phases. If something is happening in your life that you're really anxious, it's very hard to sleep if you're anxious. And even with
yeah,
all the techniques, sometimes it's hard. You will have bad nights. Everybody needs to understand that it's gonna happen. The problem is when this is frequent, right? And then this
mm,
is what you don't want to happen. And then you need to stop and look, okay, what's going on in my life, and understand what's going on. What can I do to mitigate what is going on? So you need to see if it's stress related, if it's just habits that you're scrolling until you the phone falls on your head, like
been there,
what are the things that you're are you eating too late? What time are
yeah,
you eating? What are you eating? These
mhm,
all things are related. How much light are you seeing? Because eating too late really disrupts your body. You want your body not to be digesting. Your body always give priority to digestion. So if you eat very close to bed, your body is not going to be focused on being sleeping. It's going to be focused on being digesting. So this will give you reflux, wake you up,
yeah.
and make your sleep more fragmented. You're not going to be rested when you wake up. So this kind of things mainly.
It's interesting because, we we don't realize when my daughter was a baby, we had to have this hammock, and I would sit there and rock her in the hammock. It was like a little kid's hammock, and then after she fell asleep, I'd move her onto the
Mhm.
bed. But it was this routine. It was this routine, and it was the way we did it, and it was we had to do it again and again, and now, even though she's older, we still have the routine. We have to put on the what is it? It's like a little aurora borealis nightlight. Once the aurora and that plays these
Uh-huh.
relaxing cricket sounds, and, and I always put it on
Like in
every
a
single
white sound, so like nature
white sound,
sound.
totally,
Yeah.
totally, totally white sound and white noise, and
How
she
old is
was
your
just
daughter, if you don't mind me asking?
she's 8. She's no, 9, just
Uh-huh.
turned 9, and so and, but, like, and she's like, "Dad, why do you keep doing that?" And I was like, "Okay, well, I'll stop one day." And then, I didn't do it, and, like, she couldn't sleep. And I was just like, the routine is there, and it's like we do this, and I noticed that,
Yeah.
like, after I got the white noise machine was going, I was like, one night, my wife was like, "Do we need that on?" And I was like, "Oh, I'll turn it off." I turn it off, I couldn't sleep, and so I was just like, "Okay, we're gonna leave that on for now," because I live in a big city. It's a noisy place, there's a lot of street sounds. There's a lot of even
Yeah.
at night, in the middle of the night, there's a lot of noise. And, it's a really helpful thing, but it's like,
Yeah.
you're spot on with the emotions and these different things, like, like the night before an exam, or the night before I can never sleep the night before flying somewhere. I always get all of this anxiety. I get a
Mhm.
ton of anxiety about travel, and every that time before I fly, it's just like, I'm not gonna sleep. And I mean, I think that reminding myself that this is normal. It is normal to feel, and it's not something wrong. But I have been in that space where I had major insomnia, but it was also paired with one of the things that I noticed was I was consuming a lot of caffeine. A ton of green tea, 6 cups of green tea a day.
Mhm.
I was like, "Oh, it's healthy for you," but
Yeah.
I couldn't sleep.
Yeah, especially because caffeine is very much about your tolerance and your metabolism of it. Everyone is different. Everyone
Yeah,
has their own. And if you're taking too much, this definitely disrupt can definitely if your tolerance is not too high, and if you don't metabolize it as fast. Caffeine has a half life really long. 12 hours is really long, so
right.
it stays in your system for long, and then it can really disrupt you. Some people are fine, but some other people, so it's really personal thing with caffeine, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
And And yeah, and like sometimes I could do things like, yeah, it's healthy for one side, but then like now I'm taking it too much and now it's affecting other side. Because
Right.
we have to understand that the body is all connected, like
Yeah.
sometimes it's good for something, but it's not if it's in too much, like some but it's gonna affect other things and it's just crazy.
Yeah. You
There's
gotta
so
find
many
that
things that we
balance.
have to pay attention. Yeah,
Right?
and you need to understand the thing is like what I mostly do with the people I work with is help them to understand their own bodies. Like our
Yes.
body is the only thing we are born with, and we die, and most of us know nothing about it. Knows nothing how to work, like your own body works, what to feed yourself, what works for you, because we're all different, we're all unique. No
Yeah.
one can know for us. I
Right?
have all the knowledge. I can help you, give it to you, but only you will know. Like you have to test, you have to really pay attention to how you feel. Like it's so much. I think
Yeah.
sleep is also like people sometimes get really caught on like on perfection and especially like nowadays with all the tracking and everything. I encourage tracking. I track myself. I think is helpful, but I think you have to have the subjective data as well. Like how do you actually feel in the morning, because
Yes.
these things are not completely accurate. And like the best indicator of if you slept well in the morning is, do I feel energetic? Do I feel good?
Yeah.
Am I like in a good mood, do I need a really big, do I like coffee or do I really need a coffee to be awake right
Mhm.
now? Like do I need, well, like what do I need, a stimulant? What do I need to keep me, do I need something to keep me going, or am I just like going? So you have
Yeah.
to kind of pay attention to like how you actually feel, and then you can is the best indicator. And
Yeah.
I think like most of us forget to connect with ourselves and ask ourselves the questions and learn, like how your own body works. And we kind of give away this to the doctors and to everybody else. You'll figure out, like, well,
Yeah.
they can't, like nobody can
Yeah.
except you.
Right? I love that you're saying that because I remember watching one of my friends tracking their sleep, and I remember I tried it, and I was just like, it was said I was getting a good amount of sleep, but I was waking up exhausted. I was waking up tired, and I was like, obviously, it's not the right amount. But I've had a situation where I got a short amount of sleep one night, but I woke up feeling great, and I don't know if it was like the right temperature. But for me, like temperature is so important too. Like if it's too hot,
Oh,
I
it's
I,
so important. It's
I just
100%
can't sleep.
important. Nobody really talks about too much about temperature, but temperature is 100% important. It's one
Yeah,
of the most important things, actually.
yeah. If I don't
Well,
have the
you're in
right temperature.
Vietnam, so it's very warm and like super humid, right?
If it's too hot, I just can't sleep. I will just be tossing and turning all night, but if it's too cold, can't do it. So it's like there's this sweet spot that's like about, oh man, it's about
Yeah.
25, 23 degrees,
No.
it's perfect. 23 degrees
Yeah.
Celsius is perfect
Normally
for me.
they say like from 18 to 20, 22.
Yeah,
Usually is like the perfect for sleep, and everyone is a variation between those. I
yeah.
For me, 18 is one close, like 18,
18's
19 is
great.
the closest for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
18's good,
Like it's
man.
cold enough, but it's not freezing.
It's exactly. You sit there, you get down, and then I get a nice blanket. And one of the things that I really wanna try, because I always like something heavier, I really wanna try a weighted blanket. I think
Mhm.
that would be just wonderful.
Yeah. It's really good. I think so, especially uh for people who has anxiety really helps as well,
Mm,
I think. Weighted blankets. My sister she suffers from anxiety, and she has two actually, and she loves it. I think she says it really helps her.
I must buy one.
You
I
should
must
try.
buy one. I will. What doesn't work? What are the things that are like people are sold all the time that you're like, "No, that doesn't work at all?"
I think one thing that is really bad is melatonin. Artificial melatonin. People take too much when
Mm,
they shouldn't be taking it. We shouldn't be taking every day. It's not like a supplement, as in just something that you can take every day. It shouldn't be used like that. because it's a hormone. So, we produce naturally. We should try to produce it naturally. Obviously, it's very helpful in acute situations. Say, jet lag is helpful. If you are going to bereavement or something that is a very emotional, heavy emotional load that you're going through, anything in your life, like a hard breakup, something that is, like you have this acute
And
thing that is not like a long-term thing, it can be helpful. Obviously, older people who stop producing melatonin, they should be taking it. Like women on menopause, because melatonin also reduces. But everybody else shouldn't be taking this like as a sleep aid. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because it doesn't work like that. It's not really for that. So I think it's very important to say. I think this is the biggest trend, and I
yeah,
think everything else is so subjective because it can work for some people and it
yeah.
can't work for everyone. So I think you just have to try, like whatever makes sense for you to try,
I love that.
just do it. Unless it's not harming, if it's not harming you in any way, of course,
Yeah,
you know.
I love
But
that. It's
everything else, I think, is really, it's really personal, individual.
I love that. And I think that that is, the one of the best things that I think that I learned when I was in acupuncture was school, the idea of just helping patients learn about themselves, because this person comes to me, I want to lose weight, and they might do well in the gym. That might be their thing. But this person's like, "Dude, I can't do that. I want to focus on a meal plan." And this person over here says, "I wanna do this," and this person wants to gain weight. This person wants each person's different. Like, there's no 2 people that are the same.
Yeah.
There are certainly principles that
No.
everyone can follow for good health, eating a balanced diet,
Yeah.
eating,
Yeah.
but yet at the same time,
Having the
what
consistent bad times and all those kind of things.
yeah, but each of us is gonna be different. I can't eat the way my wife does because if I eat that way, I'm gonna feel sick. But if she eats the way I eat, she's gonna be feeling miserable. It's like you have these different things,
Yeah.
and like it very much is unique
Yeah.
to each
Especially, is
person.
she from the same place as you?
Nope. She is Vietnamese and I am
There you go.
American
So
and
like,
totally different.
yeah, so like your heritage is different from hers, and what her ancestry ate is different from what you ate. So her body is accustomed to lots of different things that you are not, and you're the
Yep.
same. And we all sort of the same. And like we should take this in consideration when learning and feeding ourselves. Where do we come from?
Yeah.
Like, what do our ancestors eat? Like, what was their staple diet back when they were, old times? Like, what was it? What did our great, 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 great grandparents eat? And
I
these
love
kind
that.
of things, it should be like more helpful to us. Like, for example, people in Europe are a lot more lactose tolerant because in Europe, everybody had a lot of cows and
Yeah.
everybody drank milk and dairy and all of that. Whereas in other countries, other places in the world, they didn't, like say Africa or maybe even Asia. So their tolerance to different things are different. Everyone has that genetic kind of predisposition to things. And I
Right.
think it's important to take that in consideration, and no, most people don't think about that.
Right. They just
And also your location, where you are, the local foods.
yeah. That's totally it, and it takes time to adapt, and, like, you have to find your own way. I was struck by this when I grew up in the countryside. I love the quiet, I love nature sounds, and when my wife came to my hometown, she was outside, I was like, "I'm gonna take you someplace." We went for a walk, and she's like, "It is just too quiet." And she tried to sleep, and she couldn't sleep because she didn't have the city noise, the white noise in the background of the city. And then me in the city, it took me 5 years before I could handle just the normal sounds of the city at night, you know? And now I can sleep through it, but it takes time, and adapting
Yeah,
to those things,
yeah.
and I love that you're talking about this ancestral thing. Um, the ancestral diet is something that's always been fascinating to me because I what was it? I was eating a certain type of food. I had some food allergies and I had a restricted diet and I couldn't eat certain types of of foods, but then I started eating more of what my ancestors were eating, like a more of a diet like that. And man, my body started responding. And it was just like, wow, this is something that I know how to digest. My body knows how to
Yeah,
handle this, and it started getting me better.
exactly. Exactly. What people don't realize is your body is telling you all the time if what you're doing is liking or not. Like
Yeah.
people, the problem with people, I think, like with humans, because you're so adaptable, and we get used to feeling like shit. Sorry for my language, but like we
Yes.
get used
No,
to
it's spot
feeling
on.
bad, and then like you don't realize, like for example, I always say this. Like, people should not be farting or burping every day. Like,
Yes.
if this is happening to you, your body is not digesting something. You need to find out
Yes.
what it is that's causing this. Gas is not right. You shouldn't be having. Obviously, sometimes you eat beans or you drink like a fizzy something. You will burp and you will fart. What? Because those food, those foods do that. But if you're but like if every day this is happening to you, you're eating something that is not well with you. For example, for me, it's peppers, raw peppers,
Really?
and cucumbers. I can't. I just if I eat them and I enjoy them, but if I eat them, I just burp all day, and the taste of that, and I just know that my body cannot handle that, so I just don't eat them, and then I
Yeah.
don't feel that way. And it's just things like that. Like pay attention to what your body's telling you because it is telling you all the time.
Yeah.
And you just have to kind of pay attention and know. And the problem I think that we know our Western medicine really normalize a lot of things that are not normal, like these things, especially like with women's health, like with like periods and pain, which they're saying that is normal, and it's never normal to feel pain.
Yeah.
If you're feeling pain, there's something your body's saying something is wrong, like it's not normal. And I think that's why I encourage so much people to understand about their bodies, because like you can do so much.
Yeah. Well, there's one of the things that when I went to this great allergy center in Dallas a long time ago, and one of the things that they pointed out is that so many people are not able to identify what's causing them a problem because they're overloaded. The whole system is overloaded. They're at like this cascade point where like
Yeah,
it's just everything is overloading you. And so one of the things that they showed us
yeah,
was that we really cut back on our diet and we did what was called the rotation diet, where one week you eat these foods, the next week you eat these foods. And what
yeah,
was really clear in that time was like, okay, this week I'm feeling great. This next week I'm not. So what is it in this set of foods that's causing me the issue? And we were able to sit there and
yeah,
find the different foods that were not working for you, And then all of a sudden I was just like,
yeah,
wow. I'm like, okay, so this food right here is the one that my body has a hard time with. And then doesn't mean I had to not
yeah.
ever eat it, but it just was becoming aware of that and then moderating
And
the other.
if you decide to eat, exactly, and if you decide to eat, and you know that this is gonna happen, and it's okay.
And it's
I
okay.
have that. I have that with prawns. I have a very mild allergy to prawns.
Really.
If I eat prawn, it really depends. Actually, it really depends how the prawn is cooked or how clean the
Yeah.
prawn is, right? Some prawns I eat, I get like little like itchy spots. They go away with a little after a while. So I think sometimes it's worth having it if I really
Yeah.
fancy having some
Right.
prawns. But, like, it's a like, I'm aware of this, and I know this is what's causing it, and that's what you said. There's also this other thing called the elimination diet, that you stop eating most things, and you slowly introduce them as well, and you keep a diary, and you see how you feel a few hours after you've eaten, you see how you feel the next day, and how is your energy levels, what if it's causing you any digestive issues, if it's not, like, there are so many indicators that you can see on yourself, and then it's just basically you being patient with yourself, and actually taking the time to learn,
Yeah.
because these things take time. There's no magic pill, there's nothing is fast.
No, that's so true.
So get over it and get on with it.
Right? If you could go back in time and give your younger self some advice about wellness, about life, whatever, anything, what advice would you give your younger self?
I think like research, like be curious about your body, like really like your body's amazing and it knows everything. Just like be more curious about it and learn how you work, like everything, especially like for girls, we have so much stuff that changes. Men as well, of course, but my experience as a woman, I can only talk this way.
Appreciate that.
And it's just, and don't be afraid, like to experiment and try things on yourself and learn how your body works. Take the time to think about yourself, about what you want, about how you want your life to be and how you want your health to be, and these kind of things. I think I would encourage myself to do that earlier.